Behavioral Neuroscience, Chapter 19, Segment 1. Communication is information transfer between two individuals. Language is the most sophisticated form of communication in which a set of arbitrary sounds, tokens, or symbols can be arranged according to a grammar in order to convey an almost limitless variety of concepts. Grammar is all the rules for usage of a particular language. Spatial cognition are those mental processes that deal with the spatial relationship among objects. The left hemisphere of the brain is associated with language, and the right hemisphere is associated with spatial cognition. Cerebral lateralization is specialization of one cerebral hemisphere for a particular intellectual function. Lateralization is the tendency for the right and left halves of a system to differ from one another. Situs inversus is a condition in which someone has a gene defect that causes them to develop with their organs reversed. Cerebral lateralization of functions is masked by rich neural connections between the hemispheres, making them seem as if they act as one. Cutting the corpus callosum provides relief from epileptic seizures. A split-brain individual is an individual whose corpus callosum has been severed, halting communication between the right and left hemispheres. Studies around the 1940s seem to show that severing the corpus callosum had no apparent change in brain function. In earlier studies on cats in this condition, each hemisphere was ignorant of what the other had learned in regards to a particular symbol associated with a reward. Sperry did many studies and found that split-brain individuals could not communicate words that were projected to the right hemisphere, because there was no corpus callosum to communicate with the left hemisphere, which is the hemisphere associated with grammar and vocabulary. Right hemisphere mechanisms are crucial for face perception, processing emotional aspects of language, and controlling attention. Callosal agenesis is when an individual is born without a corpus callosum. In these individuals, the plasticity of the brain often compensates for the lost connections. Dichotic presentation is the simultaneous delivery of different stimuli to the right and left ears. Experiments show that most right-handed people tend to identify sounds from the right ear more accurately, known as the right ear advantage. 50% of left-handed people show a left ear advantage. The right ear advantage is probably a reflection of the left hemisphere's specialization for language. Consonant sounds produce a right ear advantage, while vowel sounds do not. The tachistoscope test is a test in which stimuli are briefly exposed in either the left or right visual half field. The planum temporale is a region of the superior temporal cortex adjacent to the primary auditory area. It is found to be larger in the left hemisphere than in the right in 65% of brains studied. The asymmetry is evident in infancy before any substantial experience with speech has occurred. The Broca's area is also larger on the left in humans and many primates. The auditory areas of the right hemisphere play a major role in the perception of music. Perfect pitch, however, is associated with the left hemisphere. It requires both verbal and musical ability. Prosody is the perception of emotional tone of voice aspects of language. It is a right hemisphere specialization. Even though each hemisphere plays a greater role than the other in different kinds of auditory perception, they appear to collaborate in many of these functions, as well as many others. The gene LRRTM1, which is associated with glutamate neurotransmission and schizophrenia, may contribute to handedness. One form of the gene PCSK6 is associated with right-handedness. It plays a role in the left-right axis of mammals, including the asymmetrical placement of organs. Studies show that left-handed children do not differ from right-handed children on any measure of cognitive performance. The WADA test is a test in which short-lasting anesthetic is delivered into one carotid artery to determine which cerebral hemisphere principally mediates language. The anesthetic causes a stroke, making an entire hemisphere shut down. Right hemisphere dominance for language is rare, but it is more common in left-handed people. Some scientists believe that hemispheric specialization originated in the differential use of limbs for many routine tasks. Some say it reflects a left-right division of labor.